Welcome, everybody, to Justice Served Daily. I appreciate everyone being here today. And I want to tell everybody, and we're going to sit here and have our presentation. We do have a special guest with us here today, which is Jessica Reale. Hello, Jessica.
Hello.
And let me set up to share my screen to pull up some info here. For you guys will be able to see some things that we're talking about. So, as you guys saw, we are covering a case today with Jessica Reale in regards to her little sister, who is Alexia, and was reported missing June 1st of 1997 in Elk Grove, California, at the age of 5 years old. And we're going to kind of fill you in on the some details and stuff here. And so first want to just share with you guys that when we're talking Elk Grove, California, we're not talking far out by itself or isolated or anything like that. We are talking a suburb in California, just like a normal, regular suburb, houses all near each other, behind each other. And just looks like a regular, normal house. You wouldn't suspect anything at all. And we have this beautiful picture of Jessica. I hate to say older sister, but it sounds so bad in that when you word it that way. I say that because I'm an older sister, and that's exactly what my sisters have called me, the older sister. But just a beautiful picture of Jessica and her little sister, Alexia, who is just a beautiful little girl. And Jessica, you shared with me, this is the last picture taken with both of you, correct?
Yes, that's the last picture of her ever.
And she is just a beautiful little girl. So we kind of start with what the general regular public would know, that if you were looking information about Alexia, that she was reported missing in June of 1997, that it was reported missing from Elk Grove, California, that she's 5 years old. And that's a tragic case and stuff in itself. And then there is more horrific information that comes out about what both Jessica and Alexa survived living in this house, which is with their mother and their stepfather, and that is Barbara Carisco and Larry Carisco. And we will not be referring to Barbara as mom at all the rest of the way through this, but she was their mother. But she didn't act like a mother, so we're not going to call her that anymore. And we start going into information that starts coming out basically in 1997, while she has been reported missing. then slowly information starts coming out about that the police fear that she is dead. This is what's coming out in regular media. But Jessica, the only reason the information and the truth ever came out about Alexia was because of your bravery and you surviving the horrific treatment there in that home. So, could you kind of share with everybody on how it all started to come out that she was reported missing and how that all came up?
Well, after this summer when I went back to school, I started the 8th grade and their behavior became erratic all over again, and they poured bleach on me one night while they forced me to sleep in our outside shed. And by the end of the day, I just couldn't go home. I was in too much pain, and I knew if I went home, something worse could happen. And that led me to obviously the police and then hospital for exams. And they always asked where my sister was. And I told them that she was in Chicago with her father because that's what Barbara and Larry told me to tell everybody that happened to her since the moment she died. So that was drilled into my head for months. And I wasn't going to go against that because I was totally terrified that they weren't going to arrest my parents and they were going to send me home. But it took a long time for the truth to finally come out. I kept to that story for a good few months. I spoke to FBI agents and everything, and I kept lying and lying. And eventually they stuck me on a lie detector test, and obviously I was lying. And at that point I was caught. So I broke down and told the truth, and none of the FBI agents or the detectives wanted to believe what I was telling them, but it happened.
So, Jessica, you were 15 at this time?
15 when I went to trial. I did tell them what happened while I was still, I believe, 13.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is in 1997 that so your sister Alexia was not reported missing by your parents at all.
No, never.
So it only reason it happened is because you had been abused with bleach. They poured bleach on you. They were making you drink bleach as well as your sister back then. And you basically burned because of the bleach.
Yes.
And you had went to school in the fall of 1997. So while you were there, obviously you had to be in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
And a teacher recognized that, or did you go tell the teacher?
Nobody recognized that, which I thought was odd because my hair was literally changing colors as the day went on. My bottom of my pants had bleach on them and they were like eroding away. I probably smelled horrible. Nobody said a thing. And I finally just right before my last period class, I was like, I either have to tell someone now or go home. So I told my 8th grade math teacher that I was terrified to go home and a little short story of what happened. And then after class is when she got the authorities involved.
Okay. And so, so the police go to your house. Do they arrest Barbara and Larry right away from the abuse that they see you, or not? Not right away.
Yes, they did, and for drugs, obviously. But they did arrest them for that. And they also suspected something happened to my sister because they had been out a time or two before during the summer to do like wellness checks, but they couldn't do anything about it when I said everything was fine. And they couldn't come in the house, obviously, without a warrant. So nothing happened with those. But I think they always believed something shady happened to my sister. It's just they had nothing to go on.
Okay. So they arrest them for abuse. They arrest them for that. Now you're not returned back to your parents, are you, at all?
I'm immediately put into the Children's Receiving Home of Sacramento.
Okay. Okay. So, but you're not telling right away.
Oh, no.
Because obviously you're a child who has been suffering all of this abuse at their hands. And if they're abusing you for no reason, you're scared if you actually spoke, what would happen, I'm sure.
Well, the one time I did speak out against her was when she was throwing my grandmother out of the house during that summer before it all went to hell. And she threw me in a wall. So I never spoke out after that.
Right. And because initially, Larry was a new stepfather, right? He had not been your stepfather very long.
No, only a few months at the time.
Okay. And initially, your grandmother had lived there with you, and she kind of took more of the motherly role of taking care of you and your sister.
Correct.
And so, but you guys also had two brothers who were living in Pennsylvania.
My
And
my very youngest brother was given up for adoption at like 3 months old. As soon as he
okay,
was able to fly, to a old family friend in Pennsylvania. My my younger brother, not the youngest, my next sibling, he lived with us and Larry during a little bit of that summer. But she decided that the boys were not possessed by demons, only us girls. So she had to save my brother. So she sent him to live with the same person who had my other brother. So they grew up together.
okay. And then, and for some reason, was it in '97 that they basically went with both of you and your grandmother to Pennsylvania, and the thought process was supposed to be of a brother coming back with you, but they didn't bring a brother back with you, and they left your grandmother there.
My grandmother never went with us on that trip.
Okay.
It
Okay.
was just during that summer, right before everything happened, we drove out to Pennsylvania. Originally, it was to get the boys back because she got in her head that their father was, their adoptive father was the head demon, I guess, and she needed to save them and bring them back. But as we were there for a couple days, she changed her tune and it was back to me and Alexia being the bad ones. And their dad tried to convince her to leave us both there. He's like, even just Alexia, they're three full siblings, leave her here. She wouldn't even hear of it. We just got in the car and drove 3 day drive back.
Wow. And what was it that and this wasn't, was it immediate between when like Larry got there that this abuse and stuff started, or was it delayed, or when did this start happening?
When we first moved in, I thought Larry was a pretty decent guy. He owned that home. He worked the same job for like 20 years. He went to work every day. I mean, totally put together from what my mother normally dated. And my grandmother warned him, told him, don't date my daughter. She's going to ruin you. He didn't listen. But he was a regional transit bus driver for about 20 years. And he got beat up on the job during that summer. And they had to take him off work and he got on pain pills and whatnot. And he had some PSTD from being in the war. So my mother fed on all that while he was high on pain pills from the injuries, and she got him doing drugs with her, and then it just spiraled out of control. But before then, Larry never did a thing. He was a decent guy.
Wow. So your mom already had a drug problem prior to him?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And so then for some reason after a while, because they're taking drugs, then suddenly did it just appear like they just both became angry? Did they feed off each other? Was it Larry or your mom or both? I mean, how would that suddenly happen?
It was more her. I mean, she was the instigator for everything. And he just believed her and went with it. And they would spend days, all day in their bedroom. I don't know what they're doing in there. But then they would come out and it would be a whole nother. One time they swore there was people in our attic coming to get us because I was a demon trying to call the other demons in and the vampires. So they put a camera in my ceiling to spy on me. They nailed the bedroom doors shut and the windows shut. It was just, she used to read codes and messages and newspapers upside down. I don't know where it came from, but she believed it. I really think she did believe it all.
Now, were they normally like religious people or no?
I don't know about Larry because I really don't know much about him, but I know my mother was raised Catholic and baptized Catholic,
Okay.
but we never did that growing up. So I don't know when if she got back into that in her head and drugs, but we were never like actively part of a church.
Right, right. So for some reason, their psychosis due to drugs, is making them think and seeing and all this kind of stuff. And they're suddenly thinking that you, who is 13 at the time,
Mhm.
and your 5-year-old sister, Alexia, are doing something wrong and are calling demons or something.
Yeah, they thought we were demons, and then at one point she told me she was God and she was pregnant with Jesus, and that I was trying to suck the electricity out of her baby. That was the first time she made me sleep in the shed outside. I, I don't know how all that works, but she believed it.
Oh my gosh. So now we know that obviously the day that you went in the fall and all of this stuff had happened. Do you remember the night that this happened to Alexia when they heard Alexia then?
Yeah, I do. We were forced, after she kicked my grandmother out and it became summertime, obviously neither one of us were allowed to leave the house. Um, and they got it in their head that if we drank bleach milkshakes 3 times a day for 8 days, it would exorcise us of our demons. Um, so she made us do that. And the first like day and a half, I was able to help my sister and I, both of us, throw up. But they caught wind of that, and that was the first time, and really the only time Larry actually physically abused me is um, when I refused to drink it, and he punched me in the face and gave me 2 black eyes. And then they kept us separate after they found out that I was helping my sister throw up, and they wouldn't allow us to go to the bathroom, so we couldn't do it. But
Wow.
eventually, it led to putting bleach in our ears, bleach in our eyes, like just torturous things. And then I don't know what they were doing to her when I was locked away. But obviously, she was much smaller, so things affected her a lot differently than they did me. And on like the last day, I was watching, they had her in the bathtub, and I could hear her making little noises. I knew she was still alive. She wasn't well at all. She was pale and limp. And then Larry's watching me, forcing me to drink my drink while I'm looking at the hallway. And Barbara takes Alexia out of the tub, lays her on the hallway floor, and says, I think she's dying, or she says something to the fact that she thinks she's dead. She leans over her, does like one fake breath of like CPR. And I watched, and she just smiled. She just smiled when she realized my sister was dead. I watched everything happen.
Did they seem panicky at all or
Larry did it for a bit. He's like, "What are we gonna do? Where are we gonna put her? Like, what are we supposed to do? I'm not going to jail." And that's when they decided they put her in a black trash bag and put her in our freezer in the garage until they decided what to do with her body.
and this so I'm assuming did this happen then like during when you were out of school, not
Yep,
in
this
school?
yep, this was during the summer, so I couldn't leave even if I tried.
Okay. All right. And so they realize that it's your mom. It sounds like I'm sorry to say mom. I'm sorry. Barbara. It's Barbara who predominantly was having her in the tub. Larry's watching though cuz he's watching you, forcing you to drink more of this shake with bleach and stuff in it.
Hmm.
And so she's having her in the tub. I'm assuming with bleach and stuff in there possibly as well.
Yeah, they had an enema bag in there, and Barbara says that Larry put an enema bag down her throat to make her drink it. I don't know if that's true. I didn't see that part. Um, but I'm assuming that was the last dose. However, they got it into her that killed her. But honestly, I'm not 100% sure if she was dead or not, laying on that floor.
Right.
We'll never know.
So they gather up her body. Larry seems panicky.
Hmm.
He doesn't want to go to jail,
Nope.
and they put her in the freezer. So before you mentioned you were being kept in the shed, right?
Off and
But
on, yeah, they would send me outside to our outside shed where we used to house our dogs.
okay, and so was Alexia kept in the home, or was she also sometimes put in the shed?
No, she was always kept it. After the bleach stuff started and they caught us trying to throw up, they kept us separated at all times. So she was locked in their master bedroom closet quite a bit.
Wow. Hmm. So they keep her. They keep her in the freezer. They know how long does that happen? Is she kept in the freezer like a long time before by the time you go back to school or not?
No, it's only a few days, and then they come up with this story that she's with her father in Chicago, and then they take her body out, and they woke me up from a nap and told me to come into the bedroom closet. Larry had a gun, and they took me into the bedroom closet and made me sit there and watch as they dismembered her.
In front of you?
Yep. All the while, mostly Barbara doing it, while Larry had the gun trained on me, telling me that this is what's going to happen to you if you tell anybody the truth. So I had to repeat the story over and over again that she was with her father in Chicago.
Oh my gosh. So this was during the summer. It was only a few days later after this happened.
Yep.
And oh my gosh, it's just hard to imagine any human being, whether a relative or not, to decide to dismember a child in front of another child, God forbid. So they dismember her, but they do not keep the remains, correct?
No, they just, I hate to say this, but they dismembered her well enough that they were able to burn her in the family fireplace.
And is that photo of the fireplace on the front of the cover of your book? Is that representative of that, or?
It is. It's not the actual fireplace. It's mine in my current home now, but that's,
Okay.
yeah.
So,
But that is
so,
her final resting place was, well,
so
they did take her ashes out after that, and we took her ashes and threw them into the Sacramento River, but she was burned well enough that there was nothing left.
wow. So in the house, you have an indoor a fireplace, and they just burned her in the house while you guys were all there?
Yep. They have Larry, it's awful, like handful, they had another black trash bag with her remains in it, and just, we sat there for hours while he just put handful after handful in the middle of the summertime, and nobody noticed. Nobody thought it was weird that somebody was having a fire in the middle of like June in Sacramento, but they did.
Wow. So Barbara tried to claim, obviously in her stuff, she was trying to claim that it was all Larry's, but you feel it was both of them feeding off of each other, but mostly Barbara who's kind of leading
Yeah.
this stuff on here.
Yeah. She's very manipulative. She's always been that way my whole entire life. So, and from him to go to be relatively seeming like an upstanding citizen to cuckoo in a matter of months, it had to be more of whatever she was feeding him.
It's just so amazing. Absolutely. So this happens, you see her this horrific thing. How are you able to handle that mentally? I mean, obviously you couldn't even confide in a friend, I'm sure, because you'd be scared if whether you could trust anybody to ever tell anybody what was happening to you or even hint at it.
Yeah, I turned every emotion off for a very long time. Actually, recently, until even recently, most of my emotions have been turned off. And that's why I can talk about it so easily. It's like it didn't really happen to me. It's like I saw it on a movie and I can just repeat it. But that's the only way I got through it, is I just turned everything off.
It's just unbelievable. So all this happens. After this happens, they're continuing to abuse you still.
It got good for a little bit, like for a few weeks. Like things were, oddly calm and normal. But then it started right back up with, tossing me out into the shed, making me watch her drown the dogs. Like we had 10 dogs and she killed every single one of them
Oh my gosh.
because she thought they were possessed. Like all these things to keep me in line, like this will happen to you. It wasn't so much physical abuse, it was more emotional and like yelling after my sister was dead until the night they threw me out in the shed and poured bleach all over me.
I just it breaks my heart for you, not only that you had to face such abuse by somebody who is supposed to love you and protect you, meaning Barbara,
Mhm.
but also to have to see that happen to your little sister, who I'm sure looked up to you greatly, even with that gap in age, her being 5 and you
Yeah.
being 13.
Well, for the longest time after my grandmother was kicked out, I was basically her mother.
I'm sure I'm sure you took on the motherly.
I had to because they were stuck in the room all day, and I'd come home from school during that. I think it was the end of my 7th grade year, right after they kicked my grandmother out. I had a few weeks left of school, and she'd be like, "I'm hungry. Nobody feeds me." So I made sure to leave snacks out for her and try to take care of her while I was at school. But if I didn't take care of her, nobody did.
Wow. So when this finally all happens, this all goes down, they decide this is while you're in school that they put you back in the shed and pour again. I'm assuming they're still trying to remove demons from you,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
This is why we have to use the bleach according to their mindset,
Hmm.
or whatever. I can't even begin to try to think about that. But so this happens. They pour the bleach on you, and that is when you go back. You're back in school, and you are in 8th grade.
Hmm.
Okay, so then they're taken away. They're taken away because of the abuse they give to you. They put you in, I guess we call it like child protective services kind of thing, like a foster care type of situation, correct?
Yeah, it's like a facility before they could find a foster home. It's supposed to be temporary
Like a
care.
child's home kind of thing.
Yeah, like a group home, but it had 70 children of all ages, male and female. It was a big facility that held children for a short transition period until they could find foster homes.
And so you go to stay there, and you're there. You are trying to start saying stuff then, and then that's when they basically the police themselves say how she's missing, right? Kind of formally announce that Alexia is missing because they're lying and saying she's with her dad.
Yeah, because they did contact her dad, and he said he hadn't seen her in months.
Okay, so they find him. He was out of Chicago. He hasn't seen her. They find out that they're lying. And so finally, then you're speaking to them, telling them this is what happened. And you said you spoke like with the FBI and the police. Is that who first came to ask you what happened, or was it just like the local police, or how did that all work?
It was first like the local police, and they obviously didn't believe me that I didn't know where my sister was, but they couldn't get me to talk, so they'd leave. And then I had a meeting with 2 FBI agents, and they couldn't get me to talk either. But they did hurt my feelings. But uh, that's because the one FBI agent was very blunt. He's talking about, who do you think she was calling for when this was happening to her? Like, he used those kind of tactics to like get me to speak. It didn't really work. But then eventually the detectives put me on a lie detector test, and I proved I was lying, that I knew where my sister was. And eventually I just sat down and told them everything, which led to an even deeper investigation into the house and to my parents.
Well, and you would think that their tactics would be more of, you're safe now. You don't have to worry about them coming and getting to you or hurting you and stuff again. But obviously, that's not what the FBI's tactics were.
No, and I was a real hard nut to crack anyway, because, like I said, I turned all my emotions off to anything, and it was very easy for me just to tell them to F off, um, and just walk away. So, but actually, in actuality, I did talk to the FBI agent just a couple years ago, and he apologized because he felt bad ever since. So we're all good now.
So, So to update everybody, so after this all happens, turn around, goes to trial, and the Barbara again tries. You saw in the articles. I was flipping through the old articles from this. Turns around. She tries to put the blame on Larry. She tries to claim that she's insane, and Barbara basically takes. They offer her a plea deal.
Correct.
And they take torture and stuff off of her charges.
Yes.
I mean, can anybody believe this stuff? I mean, is this just crazy that
It
this?
kind of pisses me off, like, because it's like she's only getting charged for what she did to Alexia and not anything that she did to me. But in the end, they got her locked up, so I guess it worked.
And they only gave her 15 years.
15 years to life.
Okay. And she has already had a parole hearing, hasn't she? Or
She's had about 5 of them.
okay.
And she's been denied every time.
And how often is that happening? Like,
every 3 years, because she's technically a really good inmate and she doesn't get in trouble, so they can't deny her any longer than 3 years, which really means about 2 because she can request an earlier hearing.
so basically every 3 years. How does that affect you when you know that that's coming up again?
This last time was December. It happened again, and it really affected me this time because she's older. And when you're older, you have different parole guidelines that apparently they consider you a senior at 60. So they look at you differently, like you're less likely to do violent criminal acts if you're an old person. So it's more and more likely that being in California with their, liberal ways and how they have overcrowding, that she'll get released if she remains to be a good girl. So I was really having a hard time with it this last time and caused me anxiety. And I just know her, and she will try to get out and come find me just to torture me, to try to manipulate her way into getting something from me or anything. That's just how she is. And I don't want her near my kids.
Right.
So this time was hard, but after she was denied, I started trauma therapy this year. So we're working on it. So when she goes up again, hopefully I'll be able to handle it better.
I'm glad for you that you're getting that. I'm so happy that you there's one thing to go to counseling, but when you have somebody at least who can specialize to get you through something like that, when you've been an abused child, or and this for me, it's beyond abuse. I mean, it's to a whole nother level. I mean, the verbal abuse, the physical abuse, the mental abuse, because that you saw this happen to your little sister. It just breaks my heart for you. I mean, it really, it just feels like, right, Kel, it's like do you ever feel like you're being victimized again every time you have to watch
Every
for this?
single time.
Every
Every
3 years?
single time.
So do they notify you every time this is coming up?
Yeah. They send me a letter, and then I prepare my victim impact statement, and then I request to be part of the hearing. The first 2 times I did it via phone because I didn't have a local courthouse to go to do the video conference one. But since COVID, they allow via Zoom. So the last 2 times I've actually been able to look her in the face, and I'm not allowed to talk to her. They don't allow that, but I can speak my piece.
Wow. So she just came up in December. So you've got, to what, till 2005, 25, till she comes out again. Now, Larry had 40 years to life, correct?
Correct.
And he just came up for a parole hearing, which is how I found you when you posted about that, talking about his parole hearing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he actually was eligible to go up last year, but for some reason he decided he didn't want to, which was, I don't understand, but whatever. but this time he decided he wanted to. And I was ready to maybe speak a little bit on his behalf in the way that I know he's 73, he's ill, like he wasn't the huge mastermind behind it, like, but I wanted to see what he had to say before I made that commitment. But they ended up postponing the hearing because he just recently had surgery and he was on pain meds, and they didn't want to do a hearing while he was intoxicated, I guess.
I told Jessica when she first told me that, I was like, wow, he gets pain medication. That doesn't seem fair to be able to have any pain medication for anything. So is he every 3 years as well?
I don't know because this is the first time he came up. So he could be denied 5 years, he could be denied 3 years. It depends on his prison history. And I didn't get to hear any of that yet.
And was he a clean record before all of this?
Yes. Yep.
Wow.
Military veteran, 20 years on the same job as a bus driver, like never been in trouble.
Wow. And so you were ready to go and to speak on that as well. And they were convicted both in 2000, weren't they?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, after all of this being discovered in 1997, and then they're not convicted to 2000, then she, basically gets fixed 15 years to life. Every 3 years, you're re-dealing with this. And then you're having to deal with this. What about your brothers? Have you had any relationship that's remained with them at all?
My youngest brother, not so much. We talked a couple times a few years ago, but he's a real oddball. I think he's one of those people who's just really, really smart, and he's very socially awkward. So I really couldn't connect with him, so we don't talk at all. My other brother, we're Facebook friends, but we don't like conversate on a regular basis. He has his own traumas that I guess he's dealing with, more of abandonment issues because he wasn't there for the most of the abuse and torture, but he has real issues with being abandoned by women.
Sure. Oh,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. So, I found Jessica because she was, posting information about this hearing that Larry was supposed to have, and what she was mentally preparing for. I guess I'll put it that way, of thinking you're going to have to deal with this, and then that got postponed. But and I'll be opening up for questions here for you guys just here in a minute. But one thing that Jessica has done, and obviously you can tell how brave that she has been, and strong that she has been to survive everything that she did, seeing everything that happened to her little sister, being able to speak out and to speak up to tell people what was going on and what was happening to her also was brave. And so Jessica wrote this book that you see on your screen. It's called I'm Not Broken, Surviving the House of Demons. And it is available on Amazon. I do have a link if you would like to go and get that book. And I'm sure if you have your Kindle or Audible subscriptions or whatever, you can get that as well through all of that. But it's really kind of, Jessica, your accounts of just absolutely everything that you remember and what has come up through all the trauma that you had during this.
Yeah, I started actually not even writing it to make a book. When I started trauma therapy, I decided to do EMDR therapy because regular talk therapy just didn't ever work for me. And they literally put you back in your memories, and you hold electrodes, and it like teaches you to retrain your brain waves. So it's like I was reliving everything all over again. So I just started writing because I remembered details that I hadn't allowed myself to remember. And then it just kind of morphed into this actual book. And I thought maybe this could be my sister's voice, a way for people to remember her, because there really isn't anyone alive who still does. And maybe I could help other people going through things to not fall prey to their raising. Like, I get questions all the time, like, how are you not crazy, or how are you not a drug addict? And it's a choice. Like, I choose not to be. I want more than what I had, and I want more for my children. So if I can help even just a couple people do that, it'll be all worth it.
And now you're going kind of out and doing some speaking engagements itself, correct?
Correct. Yes, I have some lined up to speak at an addiction facility, which I never thought I would help in that way, but it does make sense because a lot of people who are addicted because of traumas. And there was a class I attended when I was a teenager in foster care. It's called Independent Living, and they taught you life skills. Back then, it was balancing checkbooks and, you know, basic cooking skills and whatnot. And I'm going to speak to some of the teenagers in that class as well.
Wow, that's wonderful. How has that been? Has that been emotional when you speak to those groups, or?
It is, because especially with the independent living class, I remember being those angry, mean teenagers, because that's what I was, and to see that they can grow up and to be something more. A lot of them don't think they can. I know I didn't when I was in foster care, because you're kind of just wondering when you're going to move to the next place or group home, or who's going to, if you have a bad grade or you do something stupid and you get in trouble. It's not like a normal teenager. Like, if my kid tells me she hates me and slams the door, okay, fine, I take stuff away and we're good to go. But in foster care, one wrong move and they can have you sent to another home. So it's kind of hard to get your bearings and think of an actual future when you don't know where you're going to be from day to day.
And how was foster care after that? I mean, after you got put in that, what was your experience? After you got placed in foster care, did you find? I mean, I know there's bad situations for foster care, but was there any relief where you had this experience of you're not in the extreme danger that you were obviously before?
Yeah, I never felt like in danger in any of the homes. I didn't feel welcome in some of them. Um, and a couple of them I felt like a parent because I had to take care of the other children. Uh, but I did have a few really, really good ones because I was in 8 in the 4 years that I was in foster care. And some of them were really good, and I'm still in contact with them to this day. And others I would like to forget.
Sure. So, one again, I want to reiterate how brave and strong that you are to speak up when you did, to survive what you did, to help bring some peace and answers and make people pay for what they did to Alexia and for your little sister, because they needed to pay for what they did to her. So I'm looking at, I had asked if people have questions that you'd like to ask. I will go through a few here real quick. And maybe if I can make this click off here. All right. One, if you have children, will you tell them your story? And if so, at what age?
I have 3 children, and they know the basics of that my mother's in jail, that they will never um, have contact with her, and that she killed my younger sister. They do not know the details. My oldest daughter is going to be 15 in June, and she wants to read the book, but I don't think she's ready yet. So maybe when she's closer to 16, 17 to get the details, but they know the basics. I don't lie to my children. We have very open, honest conversations. and we're all about our feelings. So they know the basics, which is
Okay.
more than enough for my little tykes.
Well, I mean, that's good. I'm sure that, you definitely are making sure it's age appropriate to be able to, of what you can share and what you can't. Um, you know, and so let's see, Mama Bear's asking that they know not to contact her. Does Barbara and Larry, do they already have like a no contact order that they're not allowed to reach out to you or anything like that?
They don't, but they don't know where I am, so they can't contact me. Um,
Okay.
but if they do get released, I will serve them while they're still in prison with a restraining order, so that way they can't. If they come near me, they obviously violate their parole and they would go back.
And is it automatic in California that if they're released, they have to notify you, correct? Or I
Correct.
guess it should be that way. It's
It's
supposed to be.
not automatic. You have to sign up for it. Like I didn't even know about the first parole hearing of my mother because I didn't know I had to sign up on a website to be notified. I found out after it was in the newspaper that she was denied. And then I called around and I figured out that I had the request in writing on their website. So I did that for both of them. So they have to tell me when they're up for parole, if they get released, or if they die.
Okay. Kelt says, it sounds like in the long run that you proved your mother wrong and that you are full of worth and making positive impacts and missing children and in positive, loving environment.
I'm trying, and I know I did prove her wrong. She did make a lot of comments when I was growing up. That I was never going to be anything. I'd be pregnant in high school, not graduate, not be educated. All of those horrible things that you say, and I'm none of those. But and she knows it because I mention it during the hearings, but she does not care. It doesn't affect her either way. She's flat out said in the last hearing that she never wanted us and she never loved any of us.
Well, and obviously her judgment doesn't matter no matter what you decided to do with your life, honestly.
Exactly.
I
It's
mean,
true.
she's no obviously good judge of character or scale of how to be a caring person, human being, or mother for that matter. So, Mama Bear wanted to ask, was writing the book, did it help you in getting your feelings out?
It did. It's very therapeutic. It's like I put it in the book and I closed it off and it's not weighing on my shoulders anymore. Now it's more of I know it happened, but I know how to handle it and I know I'm finding ways to make it not useful, but be beneficial. Things to find good things to come out of it.
So, obviously, we know that there are people out there, and just to let everybody know, I have scrolling across the bottom because of the topic we're talking about of childhelphotline.org. There's also a 1-800-422-4453. You can call or even text that number. If you know of someone who's committing child abuse, that you can turn them in, or suspect that there's child abuse, you can turn them in. Or if you are experiencing child abuse, that you can, again, call or text that number for help. There's obviously a lot more resources now for kids than there was ever before. Um, but we know that the hesitation of coming out to say, I'm being abused, and scared if somebody is going to listen to you and do something, or are they going to keep you in the environment you're in and you're going to suffer it worse, is the fear, or something horrific's going to happen to you. What kind of advice would you give kids or teenagers who are going through some type of abuse now?
To find someone that they trust and tell them and keep telling them. I mean, the worst that's going to happen is they're going to shrug you off and not believe it. Most of the time, if you tell someone something, they're not even going to go back to your parents and be like, your child said. They're just going to be like, I don't believe you, and shrug it off. Um, I wish when I was in like sixth grade and it started getting a little kooky, or seventh grade, I would have said something because maybe I could have prevented my sister's passing. Uh, but back then I was so isolated. I would just tell children in my situation to don't be alone. Find a way to get to someone, anyone, or run. Because running away would have been even better. I could have done that. You know,
I think it's hard to go back on something that, you make a decision on as a kid because you only know the environment and the world that you're in on.
yes,
And, and as a child yourself, you didn't understand why they were doing this to you, what had happened. You guys weren't doing anything wrong, and they were abusing both you and your sister in this way. Obviously there would be nothing in your imaginations that what happened to your sister, what happened to Alexia was your fault or anything that had to do with you. It was all on them and their abuse and their stuff. So, I know that that's kind of probably a natural feeling to say, hey, I wish I would have done something earlier or anything like that. Um, but you are doing something and you are speaking up for her now and you are telling her story and you are helping others to speak out. And the trauma that you have suffered and everything for you and for your sister, I'm sure your sister is very proud that you're out there and that you're making sure that Barbara and Larry pay the price for what they did to her, and that you're keeping her name out there, and hopefully that the counseling and stuff is bringing you great peace. I know that it's probably bringing up a lot of trauma though while you're going through all of it, which you're like, I know the luxury of the word called denial, which denial is easy to live in because then you don't think about it and don't make yourself think about it, which isn't the healthiest place to be, but that you're getting that assistance and everything from that. And then, when you're a mom now and with your own children and helping others and speaking up and helping by writing this book that you did to let everybody know that you can survive this. You can survive it. You can come on the other side of it. And that you are just a great inspiration for a lot of people who went through a lot of stuff and honestly, some adults who still have never spoken out that they were abused as children and just never came forward and said anything, but experienced it and have not ever dealt with that trauma either.
speaking about it helps. It helps a lot.
Yeah. Well, let me see, make sure I didn't miss anybody's questions here. Yes, Mama Bear have you been able to forgive yourself and know that it was not your fault?
Just recently had that breakthrough in therapy because I learned that I did what I could within the limitations that I was provided back then. So I did. I think I will always have a little bit of survivor's guilt because every time I accomplish something new or my children do, I think, oh, well, Lexia could have been, maybe she getting married or having her first child. And I always feel a little bit of guilt about that, but I know she'd be happy that I'm living a well balanced, healthy, happy life.
Yes, I'm sure she would. I'm sure she would. She'd be very proud of her big sister. So, well, I tell you, everybody is just putting out the prayer hands and hearts and love and stuff for you, Jessica, and just thanking you so much for coming and sharing this story, your story, Alexia's story, and I'm sure we'd all want to know if to any way to support and help you when you go through these hearings for parole possibilities, and I'm sure if you keep that out there for us. Again, want to remind everybody about the book. If you want to hear more details and stuff, in regards to the book itself and, just her re-going through everything. I'm Not Broken, Surviving the House of Demons. And I just want to thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. And again, it's available on Amazon. Is there any other places that they can purchase? I'm never good at promoting where to go get the books located at.
No, it's really just on Amazon. I think you can get online on Barnes and Noble too, but I self-published, so it's not like everywhere.
Well, congratulations on the book, and much success and love to you and your family and your kids, and much success on the book itself as well. And we really appreciate you coming and sharing this story with us, and we're all thinking of you, and we're all thinking of Alexia today.
Thank you. That's really what I wanted. I want people to know her.
Yeah, CJ, Evil CJ, there is a link for her book inside the show description, directly to Amazon to purchase the book. And yeah, I had a little excerpt I put from excerpt from the book that I pulled out as well that was on her book info. And yeah, please go and check it out. Go buy a book. Go support Jessica, her story, and we appreciate her very much for coming on and being so brave and so strong. Well, thank you, Jessica.
Thank you.
We appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
All righty. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye-bye. So that was incredible story of survival by Jessica, and the story of her seeing that happen to her little sister is awful. It's just awful. But she was going out there and she was talking about the possibility of this parole hearing for Larry again, and I just don't even understand it. I don't. You get, the Barbara gets 15 to life, he gets 40 to life, and they're getting a parole hearing already. I mean, this is 2000. How do you do that to a child and then do that and then murder the other child and get any chance of parole? I don't understand. But I knew that she was going out and speaking out and had the brave, if she didn't speak up, they never would have known what happened to her sister. And God bless her for surviving and going through all of that. So I appreciate everybody being here for that. And please go check out her book. It is in the description link. Also, making sure I don't miss anything here. Thank you, everybody. I did want to let you all know that we did hit 500 subscribers. I can't believe it. Thank you guys so much. I am so humbled by that, that you guys do subscribe and stuff to keep up with the different shows and stuff that we're doing and trying to keep making, such as the one today. Because of that, I did do a drawing because we were giving out our Discovery Plus 6-month subscription. It includes the ID channel for all of our true crime lovers out there. And so the winner is Lisa Olsen. It's Olsen. And I will try to get an email out to her to just confirm back. So congratulations to Lisa Olsen. we will be getting that to you via email. So Lisa, if you see this, you can send me an email at justiceserveddaily@gmail.com. And thank you so much for subscribing. I very much appreciate it. We do have a lot bouncing all over the place and in the works. And I did take a few days off because it was my birthday this week. So I thought I'd take some time off from that. Also, we do have those shows, like I said, coming up. We have the other CSAM shows coming up for the child predators, working on show 3. And actually, I have a person who contacted me who is a survivor from a person who was trafficking CSAM from the state of Indiana. And she was not made aware of this until she was an adult. And she has sent me her files and information, and I am going through that right now so that we can talk to her and speak to her as a child who was a victim of CSAM. And she was not made aware until the Internet Crimes Against Children had made contact with her. So that's kind of another show that's got put in here as well. So I appreciate you guys all being here. I appreciate you guys showing your love and support for Jessica, and obviously and our love and prayers for Alexia. And I just appreciate you guys all being here. And I did want to also let you know that the Cash App for Oakley Snow is still active. The family Oakley Snow body has not been released to them yet for burial. And they were told up to 6 weeks that it could be. I will be following more information on that case. For example, I will be following that we are still waiting for Roan Waters to be moved from Oklahoma to Indiana for the murder charges. Obviously, the Madison Marshall, the mother, is here in Indiana with those charges pending. So I've been watching those, and I will be letting you know about those court dates and stuff as well for them. So lots and stuff in the works, lots of things that have been going on. Trying to stay healthy. Obviously, as I get a year older, that doesn't help. But and I appreciate everybody who's in here. I see Evil CJ. Evil CJ's got his show going on. Evil CJ, I'm so sorry. I have not been in your show for a while. And I heard I missed the Family Feud, which I hate doing that, especially. I know you have a missing show coming up soon. If you could drop your link in here, Evil CJ. I see Celt and Mama Bear and Truthful Soul. Welcome. And I know I saw Polygraph. Everybody, Hawkeye. Everybody, I really appreciate all you guys being in here, lighting the way home for the vanished. Welcome, welcome, everybody. I really appreciate you all being here. I appreciate the support. I just want to help get the word out there. Hello, Jinx. And want to make sure that we get the word out there for these cases and try to help them where we can. So I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope that you remember to please hit the subscribe button. I think we'll go ahead and I'll do another giveaway when we hit, let me think. Should we do 750 or should we wait to 1,000? What do you guys think? What's the community thought out there? I gave away one at, what did I do my first one? I don't remember now. What do you think? Gave one away to Lisa Olson is our winner for the 500. What do you guys think in the chat? Should we do at 750? I do another giveaway, or should I do it at 1,000? All right, let's see. I see a vote for 750. I like giving stuff away. It doesn't matter to me. I appreciate you guys. I'm just trying to show my appreciation. You think I should do 750? See another 750. I mean, it's awful now that we all have to pay for something plus in order to see the ID channel and watch our true crime stuff anymore. Right? Evil CJ was our first winner. And I don't think that's why he stayed with me, right? I don't think that's it. No cars, Kelp. Not you get a car, you get a car. I'd have to become monetized for that thing to happen, but I don't know. We'll have to have a JSD plus, right? Justice Served Daily plus in order to give away those types of things. But well, I appreciate you guys being here and supporting Jessica. You guys are great. And I know Evil CJ, what is you're doing a missing case coming up. I'm trying to remember the name of, I know he is a kind soul. The name of your missing case, I want to promote that for you. And I don't think I can click over here quickly enough to find it. Can you drop that for me, CJ? Your missing case you're going to be doing, and you have an interview of a family member. Oh, that's the one I missed. Okay. Well, tell me the name of her for people can go check out that show, please. I know. Why is everybody having notification problems? I hear that from everybody. I don't get any anymore. I used to have a bunch that would pop up from all, like everything I was subscribed to, and I do not get those anymore. Huh. Well, go check out Evil CJ. I know he's been doing some great work on the cases, and he just has a missing one. Thank you, Kel, for dropping that. She dropped there's the link for the show right there. Oh, CJ did it too. Lauren Ashley Wilhoit. So go check out that episode. You know, anything that we can do to help missing is great. So I appreciate all of you. And okay, we'll go ahead. Our next drawing will be when we reach 750 subscribers. Please check this out. Please hit the subscribe button and please hit that like button so that other people can hear about Jessica's story and about her and her sister. So thank you so much, guys, for being here. I love you all. And until next time, thank you for making sure that justice is served daily.